Welcome to the vlog. Today I want to talk about something that I get a lot of questions about regarding our up and coming move to China in July. A lot of people, when I tell them that we're moving, my family's moving, a lot of people say, aren't you nervous? Aren't you afraid? Or what are you worried about? So today I just want to discuss some of those things that the reality is there are some things that I'm nervous about. There are some things that I'm worried about. And I just want to highlight those and talk about them. So what is it that I'm worried about? What are some of the things that make me nervous, I suppose, or give me anxiety about this move to China? I think the first one that really hits to home for me is just family. Look, I've lived abroad for 15 years. I've been away, but I've been able to have the opportunity of getting to go home and see my family at least once a year. And when I was in my 20s and younger, it didn't really, I don't think it really mattered too much because my parents were still young as well. But now as I get older, every single year I'm abroad and every single year I'm away and I come back, they look older. It's hard to notice someone aging when you see them every day. I guess you notice in like images and things, but when you're gone for a year at a time and you come back, it's noticeable. And I just think that some of the things that make me worry is just not being around them. And on top of that, my brother's like my best friend, and not seeing him or talking to him regularly. And look, even though I live on the West Coast and my family lives in South Carolina, I still get to see them a couple times a year since living here. And I get to talk to them. I mean, I can't describe just how good it is to be in a similar time zone when it's trying to keep up with friends and family and loved ones. But living in China, I mean, I'm on the opposite side of the world, and my evenings are their mornings and their mornings are my evenings. So I think that's something that makes me nervous is just the time zone differences and not being around and seeing my parents age. Another question that I get all the time is, are you worried about the geopolitical tensions between maybe the US and China? And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it does worry me. I mean, if I really dive into the news and I let my imagination run rampant and run wild. But here's what I've learned about living abroad for so long is often you have parallel narratives or dual narratives that happen. You hear what's on the news and then you have the narrative of what's going on in the ground. And I think the biggest example of that I can see in my life is my time when my wife and I moved to Jordan in 2015. We were both presented with a really good opportunity to live in Jordan. I was doing some research for work and Laura was kind of really starting her career. And when we accepted our positions in 2015, my whole family, all my friends and family, everybody was like, you're out of your mind, you're crazy. I mean, this was in the midst of like ISIS in Syria and everyone was just so like, it's so dangerous, don't go, we love you, don't go. And we really kind of bought into that too for a minute and got really nervous and got really like scared. And then when we got there, it was the opposite. I mean, it was the most amazing 2 years of our lives. And we got to know so many wonderful people and we felt safe all the time. And yes, I mean, there were times when maybe you didn't feel safe, but I don't think that was due to political instability. I think it was just due to not knowing the culture and being unaware of some of our surroundings. So yeah, the reason why I'm bringing this up is yes, that, maybe the United States and China aren't the best of friends. And maybe, there is some political tension, but honest to goodness, really, am I worried about that? Not really. When you go to another country, be respectful of people's ways, traditions, and customs. Don't expect them to change for you, you change for them. And that's kind of been my wife and I's motto since we've lived abroad in so many places, is that, we're guests, and we're guests in their countries, and we need to be, we need to be thankful and respectful. And to be honest, if you live like that, you're going to be fine. Like, honest to goodness, I feel like that. And so yes, on the news, if you watch the news, it looks like the end of the world. Oh my goodness, things are so bad. But on the ground, not so much. And that's how I feel about our move to China. And I really, if I didn't have my experience in Jordan, living in the Middle East at the height of political instability in Syria, then maybe I would be a lot more nervous than I am now. But we've been here before. We really have. So this is not necessarily something that really makes me nervous. But at the same time, you got to be pretty street smart and just be aware. Another thing that I hear a lot of people ask me about, like, oh, the culture is going to be so different. Doesn't that worry you, diving into Chinese culture when you're a Westerner? And look, maybe a little. I don't think it necessarily worries me, the fact that I'll be in China. I mean, I lived in Japan, lived in the Middle East. I'm quite used to the adaptation of being in different cultures. As I said before on this channel, I'm a third culture person, and that took years to get to that position. And if you're interested about that, I'll tag it into this video about third culture people, of some of their characteristics. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. I think the thing that does make me worried is just the reverse culture shock again, should I ever decide to come back to the US. Sometimes I do think, like, should I just stick it out? I mean, every day does get easier with the culture shock of being in the US. I still feel foreign here. Maybe I always will. But it is getting easier. And to think that I'm leaving again, and for who knows how long or how many years, the day when I decide to come back, I've got to go through this process all over again of the reverse culture shock. And as I said before in my previous videos, the biggest culture shock I've had in the past 10 years is living here. It hasn't been living in Japan, hasn't been living in Wales, or even Jordan. It's living here. It's been so hard. So I just think coming back to this after spending these 2 years here, adapting every single day, and then going back abroad. And if I ever do decide to come back and live here again, and who knows, maybe I am, maybe I will, I'm going to have to do this all over again. And look, here's the thing that absolutely does worry me. And the other three, I mean, I'm not losing sleep over, not really worried about, but this does worry me, and that's my daughter. Before, when we moved to different places, she was either a baby or wasn't even in the picture. And I could be really selfish. And now she's 8 years old, and that concerns me. It concerns me just, her being a third culture kid. And while I think most are okay, there is always that worry. And it's just, uprooting her and taking her somewhere else. I mean, yesterday we spent some time with her friends, and we had like a barbecue type thing. And when she got home, she looked at me and said, "Dad, I'm going to miss my friends," and just started crying. And that's the types of things where you think, oh my God, what are we doing? That worries me. This story is unfolding as we go along. I'm sharing kind of how I feel about it. And who knows, a year from now, I could have a vlog that's talking about how well she's thriving and doing well and making new friends. But I also am aware that in a year from now, I could just talk about how this has been a detrimental move for her. So this is something that does worry me. We try our best to be in tune with her feelings and to let her express her feelings. But I know that this is going to be a big shock to her as we move. So look, I've made a career, I've said this before, of teaching third culture students who live this life. So many are okay. And one of the common denominators, as I said before, is stability within the nuclear family. So we're trying our best to foster that and to be there for her. But it is something that makes me worried. But yeah. So anyway, why do I say all this? Why am I expressing and kind of sharing my thought process on this move? Is because you may be moving. You may be, or even thinking about it. I mean, look, the data says that, as I said before, a record number of Americans are leaving the country. And maybe you're in that person, you're one of those people who wants to be a data point for 2026. Maybe you're thinking about leaving. But listen, it's great, and it does offer a lot of opportunity, but there's a lot of worry and stress in it as well. So, hey, as we build this community of third culture people, or people who are looking to move abroad, this isn't a travel channel. This is just a processing channel where I'll process this move. So I appreciate it, and thank you for the community, and until next time.